achieve all good. And then the son said, how did you manage to, when he asked, how did you manage to fix the world map so quickly? And the son said, it was very simple. There was a face of a man on the other side. So I just put it up and the world map was on the side. This was the whole understanding. Now, if you look at Vata, it is very simple like that. Now, in burnout, if you go and ask them, see, there are multiple modern theories on burnout. There are 6 reasons. There was a lady in New York. The first burnout diagnosis happened in the year 1970s. It happened in New York, of course. It has to be there. And now we see, I don't see burnouts coming from villages. I don't see burnouts coming from farmers. I don't see people living in nature. But people who live with computers, who sit and who are traveling a lot, they come and say, I don't know what is happening, and the doctors have given up hope. All they have is maybe take sleeping pill or an antidepressant, or it's in your mind. And then if you are living abroad and you have indulgent parents, let's go to some astrologers. Let's see what is going on. And let us try to figure out, maybe you need to do this puja, you need to go to this temple. Please, I'm not anything pro or against any of these things. But the point that I'm trying to tell you, our body is not designed to live this fast. And today, if you read about all the biohacking people are talking about, what are they talking about? Biohacking, go to sleep on time. Go and take a cold shower. Ancient times, they didn't have people. Get sunlight. Today, we have to reinvent. It's like those corrupt government officials. They deprive the whole community of everything, and suddenly they say, now I can give you electricity. That's what this modern biohacking is coming out like. And if you look at the treatment of Vata, there is this chapter called Vata Kala Kaliyam in Charaka Samhita. It means the art of treating Vata. It's an art. It's not a science. Of course, it's a science in one way, but healing is always an art. In that Vata Kala Kaliyam, it was told, the most powerful therapy to balance your Vata is having routine and rhythm. And in that it talks about becoming a morning person. But today we understand how becoming a morning person is so powerful, waking up early is so powerful. But sometimes people, I had a patient. She finally got into spirituality after a lot of things that went wrong. And then she started tracking her spiritual progress. Tracking her spiritual progress, and again, the whole purpose is lost. And in that tracking her spiritual progress, she was told, I have to do a sadhana for 40 days, and I have to get up at Brahma Muhurta. Which is fantastic, nothing pro or against this. But there was a problem. She was not giving up her work culture. Sometimes there is deadlines happening. She used to sit at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And then, I cannot give up my spiritual practice. And she would get up at 5:30 and start doing whatever sadhana she was doing. And then she was so proud about her spiritual identity. And then everyone who is not spiritual, she would shame them. No, the reason I'm saying, I know this patient for over a year of 1.5 years, and I'm just taking the evolution of the disease, how it started. On one hand, she was going through burnout, and then spirituality, she found a rebirth, and then she was continuing her work and the spiritual process. And after some time, she went through a process of stroke. All of a sudden, there was a stroke there. And when that stroke happened, she started questioning, why am I doing all this? What it was called sadhana. I think somewhere the guru failed on me, or all the sadhana is not working on you. So, this is another hypothesis that I have. Whenever you see a patient who is having a terminal diagnosis could be something from cancer or tumor or something to do with stroke or a heart attack. It suddenly comes. There was a borderline burnout that went undiagnosed. Are you with me? There was a borderline burnout that later we try to overcome it, suppress it, and try to achieve something in spite of that without releasing that handbrake in that going upstream. And that later on turns out to be some kind of a health problem. And then we don't know what is the cause. See, the problem today, modern medicine, if you look at a modern doctor, from the day one they go through an inhuman caliber, from morning till night. And I think I've seen more medical doctors who go through burnout than any other profession. And the second comes the aviation industry, because they are sleep deprived, they travel a lot, especially if they have long haul flights. But domestic flights, they are fine, because many patients who come for treatments with long haul flights and they realize, they go back and tell that I would rather go to a flight where I can come back and sleep at my home. And that itself turned around their problem without any medication. So, when you look at this the evolution of disease, when people are going through some kind of borderline burnout, when they miss out on this, I have a very good personal trainer, and he used to say, when you do some physical form of exercise, you should be smart enough to identify what you are pushing, is it going to injure you or it is going to make you stronger. You see, there is a single spot where you can identify the exercise that I'm doing, is it strengthening me or is it going to injure me? Burnout is they missed out on the part that it is actually improving them, it's actually injuring them. And that injury, they went too far and it burns out and then they have to stop the car for a very long period. And again, what makes you continue is that ego. More than the ego, it is that hyper pressure on ourselves that I have to achieve this. Without achieving this, I will not be able to, forgive myself. One of my professors used to say, how to know if a person has high pitta in the mind. Pitta is very high in the mind. If you put that person as a project manager, that person will say, I can offer you 9 women. Could you produce the baby in 1 month? Because there is a timeline for things. And that timeline is very important. And sometimes, we have this new word saying, sometimes slowing down is the way to go faster. And nature has her ways. Nature has her ways of doing things. No matter what you do, your red blood cells will take 120 days. No matter what you do. If somebody comes with a diabetes condition and say, my HbA1c is 80, I come for 2 weeks of treatment. Can you make it into 6 in 2 weeks? It's again 90 days that it takes. So there is a sweet spot in things, and sometimes we are becoming more impatient in the wrong areas and patient in the wrong areas. That's why I see people are called patients. Have you ever thought? It is enforcing them to be patient. And if you see in Sanskrit, there is this word called prayaschitta. Prayaschitta is a synonym for chikitsa. Chikitsa means healing, treatment, recovery. And prayaschitta, we all know, many of you, if you are in language that we have prayaschitta, also means, sometimes if you go to an astrologer, they will say, as a prayaschitta, we need to do, you did some bad karma. So this is the prayaschitta we have to do. In prayaschitta, in Charaka Samhita, it is considered as sometimes your disease is your cure. Imagine if I have a sweet tooth. Imagine if I'm not afraid of diabetes. What will happen? What will I do to myself? There is a group of people, microscopic population in the world, who don't have pain sensitivity. And many people who have pain think like, oh my God, what a blessed soul. Do you know what problems they go through? Every morning when they get up, they have to stand in the mirror to check, do I have my eyes? Did I chew my tongue inside? Because there's no feedback. So this feedback is very important. In Ayurvedic textbooks, it is always there. There is this disease concept, spectrum of disease called Udava. The word Udava actually means whirlpool. Like if you see a whirlpool, there is a river flowing on that river bed. Suddenly there is a pit in the river bed, and that changes the nature of the current, and you have a whirlpool happening. So what this Udavatam is, when you start ignoring your body's feedback system, and you compound it over a period of time, that becomes a disease that would fall under Yapya or Asadhya. Yapya means you cannot cure it or reverse it, maybe you have to manage it, or it becomes Asadhya. There is no way you can reverse it at all. But when you keep suppressing your feedback, so that's why it said the first few days the body will be whispering. And then it will start screaming in the name of disease. Burnout is that scream. You are definitely in the wrong path with your high ego. Trying to change things that you cannot. Somewhere I'm trying to prove myself in the wrong direction. When I say wrong direction, let's not take it from the spiritual side or the mental side. It is that somewhere this is not working for me. You are trying to put something in the wrong place. Here again, coming to the physical side, when I read these textbooks, my professor used to always say Ayurveda is a very common sensical documentation of how human beings interact with the ecosystem around them. So those days they told any disease that you take, diseases of malnourishment or diseases of overconsumption. You take any disease, you can put it under these two categories. And they were saying diseases of malnourishment, if you can identify what is missing and if you have the support, you can just top it up and that is cured. I'm having hypoglycemia, just give them a canteen, it will help you. I'm dehydrated, drink enough water and you will be fine. But if it is not undrinkable, it can lead to death. Same way, but if on the other hand, if I consume excess than what my body can process, then it is challenging to treat. It's much easier to treat vitamin D deficiency than excess cholesterol. Agree? Same way, also for the mind. When you have too much going on in the mind, and that can also happen when your body is not stable. So in Ayurveda, we have all the treatment protocols. We put it under three categories: Samanam, Shodhanam, Dasayana. Samanam means sometimes when a person is on a high anxiety load and physically drained, for that person, you don't put that person to an intense panchakarma or an intense detox, or you don't send that person to a vipassana. That will make them even more crazy. These are the people you hear. You enter a vipassana and run out. So the body needs to be prepared for that. So the word samana means to just calm down, to just let it contain, to let it slow down, let it relax. So this is the first step. And where does this relaxation happen? It is when you have a rhythm in your life, daily rhythm in your life. It's very simple, but the problem is today we have designed the world, but it's so difficult for us to get back to the natural rhythm of our body. The moment you step out, there is a McDonald's and Subway and all the Rameshwaram cafes screaming at you. Please come and eat me. I'm going to save you. And on one hand, your body is designed 200,000 years ago. At that time, your brain was designed in a particular way that you need to eat as much sweet, salt, and fat. Because at that time, it was very helpful. You don't know when your next sweet cravings will come, or when you need to wait for some particular season and some fruits are there. Today, everything is coming to you at super quick. So today, we have abundance problems, not scarcity problems. Like there is this book called Dopamine Nation. In one diabetologist's words were rephrased. If you have to look at how the human beings are living today, it is like you are planting a cactus plant in a rainforest. See, we are not designed for so much of comfort and so much of abundance. Today we have abundance problems. See, the best example I tell you. You look back, if you knew somebody died in your first circle, second circle, did they die because there was no food? Today we have death because of abundance problems, not because of scare. Yes, there is the part of the world where this is happening, but the problems are shifting towards other things. So this in Saraka Samhita there is a word Vidya Tarpanam. Vidya Tarpanam means sometimes the food you are eating it can fatten you or sometimes it can nourish you. And that is what this Agni does. The ability of the Agni is to convert the food into the nutrients that my body can absorb and the waste needs to be eliminated. And this is going well, fantastic. When the ability to convert the food into nutrients is going low, that is when the body has something called Sroto power, the intelligence that is able to convert the food into energy, that becomes low, that is when it becomes stagnant, that is when our energy goes low, that is when our ability to move forward becomes low. It's like driving with the angle. Now coming to the mind, now there is a vague correlation between like the Agni and the Sattva Guna. Like we have Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas. In textbooks it is written, Sattva is a good quality, Rajas and Tamas is considered to be doshas when it becomes worse. Now, usually we think that, oh, I am a sattvic person, I did not get aggressive or I am not lazy. But many times today, if we actually look at sattvic, it's a pseudo-tamas. Pseudo-tamas means you are just using spirituality as a way to justify your laziness. That I don't have to do, I go with the flow, I don't have to plan. On the other hand, you have the high Pitta people, I need to control the world. The earth should spin with the axis according to my will. And on the other hand, you have people, everything will go in its flow. Both are polarized. What Sattva does is, Sattva is giving you that insight to understand where to use tamas and where to use rajas. See, we need action. Action is what is that rajas, that pitta is. And we need tamas. At night, I should be tamasic. Right? I should go to sleep at night. And in the morning, my rajas should come out. But where to use my tamas and where to use my rajas. And that is what, from an Ayurvedic medical perspective, your Agni in your body is. When your Agni is profound, your ability to, so Agni is also a synonym for the Sattva, what we call it as purity, because Agni purifies, Agni clarifies things. So in Ayurveda, what we try to do, in burnout, you remember the example of land. There is heat, there is fire, and there is wind that is allowing the fire to go. In burnout, somewhere the fire became too strong because the wind started picking up, and then suddenly it is low. So the first thing that we need to do is contain the wind. Contain